friends, welcome to the All-Canadian Reptile Girl. I'm Annaliese, and like the plants in my house, I sometimes need to be watered and turned towards the light. Today we are building a new huge home for my male garter snakes and adding a really cool new feature that mimics the power of the sun and not like regular heat lamps do. It is completely different, sort of. You know what, I'll just show you. Okay, here's the scoop. My male garter snakes desperately need a new home. They are in a 4x2x2 enclosure. It's got lots of levels and layers to it so the snakes have plenty of places to go and hide and explore. And it is a great tank for a small group of garter snakes. The only problem with that is I don't really have a small group of male garters anymore, as two of what I thought were females in the female tank are actually males and needed to be moved in. And that was not long after I had already added a baby checkered garter snake, which was supposed to be the last snake moving into this tank. So, the group has kind of gotten bigger, unexpected. I do also have a male baby plains, like these guys, that I do intend to sell, but I don't ship when the weather is cold, and it's winter right now, like in the middle of winter in southwestern Ontario. So, to give you some perspective, that can either be, 5-10 degrees Celsius one day, and literally the next day, after it was sunny and all of that, it is -40 and there's 4 feet of snow that happened overnight that we were not privy to. So we don't ship snakes over the winter. So he's here until it warms up enough that I can give him to a forever home. This means that this tank that should be housing 4 to 5 garter snakes that are smaller is actually home to 8, and a couple of them are not so little anymore. Now, like I said earlier, there is plenty of room and spots for them to get away and get some space if they want it, and they all seem very happy and stress-free, and they're often all cuddling together. It's just more crowded than I'm comfortable with, and they seem fine, they don't care, but they still do need something a little bigger. Some of you might recall this guy. This is Dozer, my 6-foot-plus Annaliese male corn snake. Isn't he handsome? We actually suspect that he's a turbo corn, which is a hybrid between a corn snake and a bull snake. I explain all of that here. Well, Dozer did sadly pass away from old age in October. Right until the end, Dozer was a wonderful ambassador animal. He was super friendly, rock steady temperament, like his behavior never changed if he was hungry, in shed, at loud parties with kids pawing at him, or cats sniffing him or watching him through the glass, inside, outside, upside down, inside out. He never wavered. He just seemed perpetually content being Dozer. He was a very sweet snake, and we do miss him quite a lot. He was in a beautiful 6-foot bioactive enclosure, which, now that he's not using it anymore, is perfect for my garter snakes. I just wasn't quite ready to move them in right away. I needed some time to mourn Dozer's passing, so aside from watering the plants, we've left his tank untouched for the past few months. Well, except for like the last 2 weeks that I've had my Doomerals boa in there, because it's only temporary, but it's because she decided to break through the floor of her regular home. So that, hold on, this is Tasara's enclosure, and she just went like this. There's so much dirt on my arm now. So now we have to fix that, and we should do that this week. And then we'll put her back in her proper home, and I think we are collectively ready to move on and start making this tank suitable as a permanent home for my garter snakes. I think you'll like it, Azalea. Now, this tank, which by the way we bought on Kijiji for $50, still one of the best deals we've ever gotten. I mean, obviously, it was a steal. Where are you going? This tank is actually one of the first ones we ever set up, as Dozer was our 3rd snake ever. So, while nice and Dozer loved it, it's just not as tricked out or sophisticated as my later builds. There's no decorative backing on it aside from a piece of cork that we just glued onto the glass to cover a crack. It doesn't make the best use of the vertical space, and while perfectly fine for a single big snake, I think it could be better arranged for a group of smaller, more active snakes, aka these guys. You know, we've learned a lot in the last 5 years, so we'll be doing a lot of this to make it look more like our other tanks and to be far more suitable for my garter snake. Garters are communal and social, but they still occasionally want or need their own space, just like us humans. So it will be critically important that this tank have a lot of nooks and crannies, hidey holes and crevices, branches of various sizes, so that there will always be opportunities for the snakes to hang out together in big groups or smaller subsets, or to be alone entirely. We'll also be replacing all of the soil that's on the top layers of the substrate, integrating the cleanup crew from their existing tank, which includes superworms and darkling beetles. Video here explaining all of that. I'll also be replacing these heavy, clunky lids with something more manageable and lighter. This thing is just like crumbling apart. Well, I mean, okay, the enclosure's fine. It's these lids, like, how did this last this long? Listen. You can hear it. You can hear it talking to you. The doors are whispering, Father and audience, because you were getting a B-roll again. You can hear them talking to you.
Well, we're gonna fix it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. So there's a lot of work to do, but the bit I'm most excited by, at this stage anyway, is the lighting. I will be giving them a UVB basking light, like I do with most of my other animals, but unlike every other enclosure I have, this light will not be static. I will be using the Helios system by Reptilia Rex to mimic the movements of the sun. They've reached out to me asking if I'd be interested in reviewing their new product, and I jumped at the chance. As a concept, this is really cool. I don't know how well it works at this point in time, as I've just unboxed it and put it together and that's it. But once it's all done and installed, I will give you my earnest, honest review on this interesting innovation to lighting. So future Annaliese will cover all of that later in the video, but initial thoughts on it from just present Annaliese, who has only seen it, is that it looks pretty cool, and I love the concept, as I've said multiple times. It seems really easy and straightforward to use. I do think that there might be some opportunities to improve like the fit and finish, but as I understand it, this is also kind of an early iteration, so it's more about function. But I do think it is such a cool idea, and I'm super excited to see how it works in practice. So big job ahead. Let's cut to sometime in the near future to me breaking down the tank. Okay, so we are here in front of Dozer's old enclosure. Sarah was in here for a bit. My patrons know about this. She escaped her current enclosure. We had to put her in here until we fixed her enclosure. She is back now in her proper enclosure, but her being in here is why the pothos is looking real sad. It should bounce back, hopefully. At least she didn't mess with mother-in-law's tongue, whatever this is. We are going to empty out this whole thing. We're going to take out all of the dirt. Now, we're not going to use the dirt in other enclosures. However, we are going to keep the dirt in buckets and put it outside in the spring, just in the backyard for Mom's garden, all of that, because there is good nutrients in the soil, and we don't want to kill the isopods and springtails that live here. And the isopods that are in here were collected literally from my backyard like 5 years ago before we started buying them from the store. So yeah, we'll just be putting all that out in the summer when it's nice, or the spring when it warms up. And yeah, so we're gonna take all of the sticks and stuff out. We will be using the sticks again. We're gonna take out all of the dirt, and we are going to end up redoing the lids. And yeah, we have ordered the things for the lids. We're going to be using like door screen, like metal door screen, window screen, would that be what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna be using that for the doors with like a hinge. You'll see. My dad has a plan, and I think I understand what the plan is, but who knows? We have stuff that we are working on to affix to the backing so that they'll have stuff to climb in. Let's talk about these shelves. I am super happy with how they turned out. This is how they'll look and be arranged in the tank when all the steps I'm about to tell you are done. It may look like they are hard to do, but they are actually really, really easy to make, though it does take a fair amount of time. Most of it is just waiting for stuff to cure properly so that you can move on to the next step. For the size and number of pieces here, and amongst other projects, these took months to make start to finish. The foundation of these are styrofoam shipping inserts that were from a TV that we bought last year. Electronics or appliances are a great source for oddly shaped bits of styrofoam that you can then use to cut, melt, shape, or add spray foam to get into the shape that you like.
What are you doing?
I like the way it smells.
I don't think you're supposed to do that.
Yeah, it's giving me a headache when I do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to. Then it is coated in 3 or 4 layers of grout, which needs a couple days between coats to cure. Once cured, you can sand, carve, and Dremel it with any other details that you want. Then it's over to painting, a dark, thin wash of acrylic paint to darken any cracks and crevices, light brushing of whatever pops of color you want. This grout has a bit of an orangish tinge to it, so I used lots of blues to contrast that, along with some splatters of other colors here or there. Then finished off with some light dry brushing for highlights. Really, just do what you want. There's no wrong way to paint a rock. I mean, just look at a geology subreddit, all the colors and patterns there exist. So just Bob Ross it up and paint it however you want. It's your world.
Tell you what, let's get crazy. This is our world, so we can do anything.
Lastly, a couple coats of water-based, waterproof acrylic clear coat to seal it all up, and you're ready to add dirt and moss once the clear coat cures, of course. The next is a fun but messy step. Just glomp on some silicone or acrylic caulking that you've researched and know is safe. I'm using acrylic DAP Dynaflex 230 here. It is perfectly safe to use, and I talk about why I prefer this stuff to silicone in the video that just popped up in the corner of your screen. There. What I like to try and do is look at spots where they might want a little bit of a softer ground instead of the hard rock. So little coves like this, or places where it looks like water might have eroded away the rock, which would have left behind soil, and as the water left and is no longer there because there was damp and all of that, it would also make little mosses. So that's what I try to do. Again, no wrong way to do this. Just glue and slap on some moss, then throw some dirt or cocoa fiber on top and smoosh it in to cover the acrylic. Easy peasy. You can also affix small rocks or bits of bark, cork, little sticks, and what other bits of stuff that you think will look good and that your pet will like. Once complete, the inserts are glued onto the back of the glass and weighed down while we wait for a couple of days for this to fully cure. Then you're all set to flip the tank upright and start adding substrate and clutter. Remember, you'll need to wait at least a week for all of this stuff to off-gas before moving snakes in. Depending on the type of sealant you use, it might even be longer than that, so make sure you give it plenty of time and ventilation so that it's safe for your noodles. Yeah, so that's the plan. We're gonna get started on this. Now, to save you a bunch of boring B-roll sped up with just random royalty-free music on top, I'm just gonna, like, cut to this done, like, with a transition like this. Okay, so all of the fixtures are installed, substrate and plants are in, and we've got a bunch of stuff from their old enclosure that's now in here, including a lot of substrate, which is home to a whole bunch of the superworms that I use for a supplemental cleanup crew. The presence of these guys in this tank here is also why I have the inserts that we built up high on the back of the glass, because, and this is a fun little tidbit, the worms love eating the foam. So if these were touching the substrate, then they'd be chewed up fairly quickly, kind of like how they are in their old tank. So be aware, because I forgot to mention this in that superworm video, I'm sorry, if you have the foam backgrounds, the worms will probably eat it if they can reach it. So anyway, those are all up there. Everything but the garters is in here, so let's add them and see how they like it.
Ready?
Yes. All right, let's get them in there. All right, hold on. Guys. Okay, so they are now all in here and they've pretty much disappeared, though I can hear the leaves. Oh, I see Kelly. Oh, hi, Imp Blue. And Denim's down there. Okay, we did put a couple into this thing, which I will get to in a second. Now, I think that I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I filmed that first bit like months ago. It was still 2024, I'm pretty sure. So I don't really remember what exactly I said. So for safety, it's really important for garter snakes to have lots of places to hide. Proper hiding places is critical for all snakes, regardless of species, but with garters, you kind of need a lot of stuff. You kind of need to overdo it. Hides everywhere of various sizes and types and elevations, and here's why. Garters are social snakes, so you need to nurture that nature. Yeah. But also be mindful that social doesn't mean social all the time. Just like people, garter snakes will sometimes feel the need to hang out with lots and lots of different snakes, sometimes with only 1 or 2 friends, and sometimes they want to be completely alone. The ratios of time spent in those states will vary by snake, by day, by the weather, whatever. Just like us, they need some time every now and then, and they are all unique with their own preferences and feelings. Yes, they do feel. So, to support this, you need big hiding places where multiple snakes can snuggle up and have a nap, smaller hides that only accommodate a couple of snakes, and even tiny ones that only fit 1 snake, or maybe even really tiny ones that can only fit the smallest snakes in the enclosure. And only 1 of those small snakes. We love all shapes and sizes here. The snakes in here range from 3 feet to barely a foot long, so I like to give them options. The other reason is that garters are highly active, as I mentioned, and as you can probably see, they never stop moving. And to foster that activity, they need to feel safe everywhere in their home, especially in a new home. By making sure there is always a place to hide, no matter where they are, they will be more inclined to freely move about, knowing their safety is ensured. No matter where they are always going to be a few inches away from a hide at any time. Also, the more clutter and hidey holes, the better it looks, right? This looks incredible. Not to be like, this looks incredible, look what I did. Because Dad helped a bunch too, but you're welcome. Thankfully, this can be pretty easily done with smaller snakes like garters. You can go and buy a bunch of hides, but really, you can make do with some little pieces of bark or cork. I find that they actually really like the piles of just a bunch of pieces of bark on top of each other, which we have on that side. Or even just stacking rocks to make little cubbies. Let's see what we've got in here. So you can't really see with all of the leaves in the way, but again, that's helpful. But we have lots of bark stacked up against this log that's half buried here, so it kind of creates this tunnel almost through the middle of the enclosure so that they can get to this, or they can go over here and climb up. We've got a mushroom hide back here, lots of branches and sticks for them to climb on. We have this hide here, which I will still get to in a minute. I will make you wait for that, yep. We have a pile of just sticks. Just a pile of sticks, as you would maybe pile up kindling outside, because snakes like to be in that. A lot of people will find garter snakes around their house in the little wood pile they have outside, if they have a wood pile outside. That's not universal, I understand. But that's what we have here in this. We also have a PVC tube, just a little section of it that Dad covered in bark and moss and cocoa fiber on the inside and the outside and drilled a couple holes into. It's like a little tunnel back there. It's really cool. I'm excited to see how they like it. And yeah, you just put a bunch of stuff everywhere. My favorite hide in here though is this log hide. We had the idea to make a hibernaculum inspired hide. A hibernaculum, if you didn't know, is a spot that garters and many other species use as a communal hiding spot to brumate in over the winter months. They are usually underground below the frost line, cozy and accessible through tiny passages that help keep the temperature within stable. So for this hide, we wanted to have it underground as it can be in a few inches of soil, and be natural looking. So we took this hunk of firewood, and my dad with the chainsaw, because he doesn't trust me with it, lame, carved out this chunk. Yes, we also flattened the surface, but you probably don't care about that. We also drilled in holes as access points here on that side and down that thing, but we'll have B-roll so you won't see me pointing awkwardly. And we used a spade bit for that, in case you want to replicate this at home. You need a chainsaw, you need a spade bit. I recommend not doing this without someone there to make sure you don't cut off a finger. From there, we decorated it with lots of moss and cocoa fiber and stuff like that so that it would be able to be seen through the front. And I'll get to why this isn't an issue in a second as well. But first I want to talk about these mushrooms, which I really like. They're super easy to make. They're nice and fun to make as well. All you need to do is put some spray foam, and then if you take a spray bottle with some water and you spritz it, it starts to cure the outside faster, but the inside is still gooey. So after a few minutes, you can touch it on the outside without it sticking to you, meaning you can mold it into these shapes. So that's what we did. Then we painted and sealed it, added cocoa fiber and moss around it so it, you know, looks more organic, like it's coming out of the log. And yeah, that's that. I think it turned out really, really cool, and I hope that they like it. Now, I did mention that this glass, we can see into it, and that might make them feel uncomfortable, you might be saying to me through your screen. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, I'm only guessing. Now, if you are curious about how I'm so sure that they will feel safe even with this wall of glass in their hide, well, funny thing about snakes is they are much more tactile about what makes them feel safe than visual. They like to feel like they are in a small space. You know, be able to be touched on all sides and the ceiling. They are less concerned about being visible within. Snakes will usually prefer a hide that is on the smaller side, even if it is transparent, than they would in a big, spacious, opaque hide. So as long as they feel cozy in there, they probably won't mind that we can peek in on them. They'll still feel safe, which is really cool. Okay, so I think that's enough. I think I've explained all of this, and yeah, I'm gonna let them settle in since they're all in here and they're moving about. And I will film some B-roll for you, which you might have already seen while I've been yammering on the past few minutes, and we'll give them some space. Let's check back with them in a few days and see how they like it. Okay, so it's been about 5 days and they seem to be doing really, really well. I am so happy with how fast they seem to have acclimated to this. It's incredible. So they seem to be basking a lot. They are exploring everywhere. I've seen them use like all of the hides, but they're also out quite a lot. It's really good. I mean, they definitely, I think, hid more in their old enclosure, so I'm really, really happy with that. The worms are here, and they are going to turn into beetles in these little cubbies that they're making for themselves. Superworms, if you didn't know, will only pupate if they are separated from everyone else, versus mealworms will do it wherever and whenever. They don't care if there's other people, but these guys need their privacy. So they've made little change rooms for themselves, I guess. So that's either cute or terrifying, or a mix of both if you're like me. Some of the snakes have used this. We are going to be putting a little piece of paper on here just to acclimate them to it a bit more. But Impodaloo seems to really like it down here most. He's our young male Chapala in here. But that makes sense. He liked the old log that we had that the bottom was cut out of too. So he seems to really like it in there. Azalea seems to like it on that side of the enclosure more. And Kelly and Chupa have been out basking a lot, which is great because Kelly would usually hide a lot more. Same with Chupa. They would bask, then they would hide. So I'm really happy that they're just out a lot. They have eaten in this enclosure. Well, not all of them in the enclosure at one time because they're garter snakes and they have an appetite and they don't understand things. So, but they have eaten since being moved into this enclosure, which is a fantastic sign. They all ate, so that's really good. I'm really happy about that. And yeah, they seem to be just really thriving in this enclosure, which is great. Impodaloo has been enjoying the bigger water dish, which is great. So far, so good. They are happy, I'm happy, and I think it looks great on its own, but it looks even better with them in there. So you might have noticed that I've arranged the shelves fairly linearly across the back of the enclosure. Normally with things like this, I would like to arrange them more organically where they're kind of stepped and, you know, just look more natural. But I opted for this for a very specific reason. To allow a mostly uninterrupted area to bask no matter where the light is, which is good because this enclosure has a movable basking spot provided by the Helios lighting system by Reptilia Rex, which I am super excited to tell you all about. Full disclosure, I did get sent this unit for free to provide feedback, give my honest thoughts and feelings about it. So I will tell you all the things I love about it, as well as some suggestions for improvements from my perspective with this build. This is the 6-foot model. The site shows a 3, 4, 5, and 6-foot option. You can get them with 1 bulb or 2, so there are options for what you need for your particular setup and animal. I think it's really cool looking. It looks very clean, metallic. It's almost mechanical or tanky which is funny because it goes on a tank. And it looks, I like it. It looks like it's industrial, but like simple, not overcrowded industrial. Just like clean, simple industrial. If that makes any sense at all. It's really easy to set up and to program. The instructions are very clear, and it even gives you a table of calculations to make sure that you are not overloading the unit. Basically, how this works is you set up the time you want the lights to turn on and off, just like any other timer. But over the course of that period of time, the fixture will move along the track. Turns on over here next to the motor at whatever time you set it for them to go on. And over the course of your timing that you want them to be on for, it will move every few minutes. All the way over to that end where it hits that little button thing and the lights turn off, and then it gets sent back over here. It's really cute. I don't know why, but when I see it go, and I know you guys feel this too, we're like, good job, little guy. You can do it. It feels like
it back to the starting point.
And even just when it's like going over, it's like, you can do it. I believe in you. And I don't know why I feel that way, but I do. So anyway, and then it goes back over to the starting position and waits till tomorrow to turn back on and do it all again, just like the sun, which is what this is meant to emulate. The idea is that this movement will be mimicking the sun that they'd experience in the wild. It encourages the thermoregulating behavior that they'd need to engage in, increasing activity and mental stimulation, which I think this has done. Also, they have just been like, I've noticed that they'll be anticipating, sort of, where the light is gonna be and just going and grabbing their spot early. So they'll sit like this guy over here. Hey, Jen. You're Jen? Yeah, you're Jen. Jen has been over here waiting for the light. I think it's like they're grabbing their seats early at the show or whatever. It's just really funny. And then the other ones will come over on this side. It's just cute. And they kind of just like leapfrog over. So it's really cute that they just seem to be like, they know where it's gonna be and they want to get their spot. I don't know, that's cute. Overall, I love this system. I think as a concept, it is so cool. And I'm honestly surprised that we don't see rigs like this more often. I think it would be wonderful for all sorts of reptile species, but I do think that garter snakes, being so active and social, are like the perfect species for this system, especially if you have multiple species in the same tank, because this leaves behind lots of different cooling and heating up spots. Perfect for multiple species to find the perfect temperature for them. So incredible. This is incredible. And having spent some time with it, I have some tips or things to consider if you want to get one yourself, as well as a bit of feedback. Let's start with the pros. 1, it works really well and it's easy to program. It's quiet, it moves the light, it does what it's supposed to do, and it does it well. It's got a max amperage of 6 amps, which means that you can put just about any bulb in here. The instructions include some handy calculations to make sure that you don't overload your system, but 6 amps is plenty. To compare the highest rating on a dual hood from Zoomed, you have a limit of around 2.5 amps. So you have lots of options with this. They're also working on a sunrise sunset mode that will work with an integrated dimmer or work with other commercial dimmers. So that's pretty cool for future versions. 2, it looks cool. I get that this is personal preference and others might not like it, but like I said, I think the mechanical kind of look and the robust box that houses all the electronics looks really well built, and it looks like a proper piece of equipment. The control box also has an outlet, so you can plug in other lights like we did with these LEDs that are in here, and it works off of this timed outlet as well. So you don't have to get another timer, which is really nice. If you are using it that way, just again, check those calculations to make sure you're not putting too much on it. 3, as expected, it promotes activity and enrichment. The garters seem to be actively basking more, which is incredible, and they just seem to be out more in this one than their old enclosure to see what's going on when the light moves. They seem to just have really settled into this tank really quickly compared to other moves into other new tanks, so I'm just really happy with this. Overall, I have no complaints on how this works or the ease of setup. There are a few things that I think could be improved upon, really mostly just fit and finish stuff, and this is all feedback that I have shared with Reptilia Rex, so no surprises for them, I hope. First is the position of the control box. As you see, it is mounted on the inside of the end panels. In a front opening enclosure, not a problem. It keeps things tight and contained, all good. But with this being top opening, the position of the box would have impeded the opening of the lid. Moving this to the outside isn't really practical as the cables aren't quite long enough to move it there. So I did need to block off a portion of the lid over there on the top, and that did end up making the lid a little smaller just to make sure that the lid did clear the box. My suggestion would be to make these cables a little longer to give folks the option to mount this on the outside if they want to, or just keep it on the inside. Just give them the option, you know? The carriage as it came is open on the front and the back, meaning that you've got bright exposed bulbs just shining into the room. And for my dad, who gets migraines triggered by flashes of bright light, no bueno. Now, from what I understand, there is a covering that will be available that covers the whole thing. There are plenty of mounting holes in place for that already, which could help, but there's still a lot of light just going out. So for that, I would suggest an integrated reflector or hood that directs the light down would be helpful. Even just making it able to accommodate a store-bought hood would help. These sockets are just a little bit too close for the standard dual hood. This one is from ZoomEd. Dad modified this one, if you're wondering how we got it on there then. Basically, he just cut off the raised areas on the top with a hacksaw so that it fit over the sockets. I'm happy with this configuration. It's working really, really well, and it wasn't hard to do, but I think if it came with a cowling for the lights, or if these sockets were set up at a distance to fit the hoods as they are, it would make the whole thing a lot easier to install one of these without, you know, having to modify it. Lastly, the metal it's made out of is kind of thin. If you're careful and you don't have a 20-pound plus cat that likes to rub up upon things and jump and all of that over everything, this probably won't be an issue for most. But it is still a little delicate, and I think if you accidentally handle it a little roughly, these could be easily bent. Luckily, they can also be easily bent back, so that's good. But if they were made with a slightly thicker sheet metal, it would probably be a little bit more robust, but you do pay for that with increased weight, which creates other challenges, so I don't really know. Just know that you can accidentally bend this. Be careful when installing it, and you should be perfectly fine. Overall, I think this is an awesome product that a lot of reptiles will really enjoy. I know it's working really, really well with mine, and I'm excited to see how they use it in the future. You'll probably want to upsize the bulb from what you'd normally use because it's constantly moving. You are going to see lower temps under the light at any given time, so you might want to adjust for that. But really, I think this is so cool. Once this rolls out and is fully available, I will definitely be looking to add it to some other enclosures too. I just think it's great. So please go check out Reptilia Rex. We've got links on screen and in the description to see the availability on this cool new innovation. So there you go. The male garter snakes are in a much more spacious, proper home. They have tons of spots high and low and everywhere in between to play, explore, and hang out. Whatever, and they seem to be really, really liking this, so I'm really happy. I think that these guys are absolutely loving it, but what do you think? Do you like how the tank turned out? Are there any build tips that I gave you that gave thoughts or inspirations for your own tank? Let me know what you think about all of that. And the Helios system, how cool is it? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you to my patrons. You guys helped me buy all of the glue and the dirt and the grout and the spray foam and the just stuff that went into this build. I could not have done this without your help and your support, so thank you. If you would like to lend yours, head on over to patreon.com/allcanadianreptilegirl to see how you can help and check out all of the stuff that's available just for my patrons. For example, they got a sneaky peek to the Helios system some time ago when it actually first came. Speaking of the Helios, a huge thanks to Reptilia Rex for sending me the Helios system. It's awesome and I am so, so happy with it. Please go check them out and see how you can get your own. Thanks to you all for watching, and until next time, remember to nurture all nature. Bye. Do you wanna go home? Sunset. It's doing it. I don't know why I'm acting like this is new. It's been doing this like for a long time now. Good job. I don't know, I feel so proud of it for doing its job. I don't know why.
All right.
Stu, if you were recording.
I was not. Okay, sorry, you have to say those 6 words all over again.
I'm just saying, I asked you if you were recording, you went, yeah. I hit record.
Look, If you can find someone else to do what I'm doing for what you pay me, go ahead.
Yeah, like you got them basking over here where it was. You have one basking down there, and I like how they're anticipating. They've started anticipating where it's going to be at whatever time, so they're just like, okay, I'll move over here now.
So go back and when you're actually in frame and say that.
I will. Hold on.
Do you need a pillow?
I think I need just a tiny, yeah. Oh, ow, my face.
Good job.
Ew, it's hot. There's one stickers there. Oh my god. Okay. I am now part of the clump.
Good. Keep going.
I have been incorporated.
Talk.
I can't. I needed to. Did you just call me Clump?
Yep. Let's give you a new nickname now. Clump.
Cool. All right. I can hear them. Oh, hello.
What are they saying?
No, they're scales.
Okay.
Hold on. Be quiet. I want to see if it picks it up.
I'm not seeing anything on the indicator. But that's like
I can hear their scales rubbing together. It's cool. It's also weird. Oh, Richmond's a little slower than the rest. Anyways. His beady red eyes.
Is that it? Oh, okay. Some indication that I'm waiting for you to like.
No,
okay.
that's it.
And that's it. That's all we got.
That's all that's there.
All right. I think Dozer will be happy that we
Mm-hmm.
made his home as something cool for the garter snakes.
Yeah.